introduce the father of the bride. Give him a big round of applause, everyone.
Thank you very much for that. I can see it's going to be an interesting evening.
A bit louder.
A bit louder, okay. I'll try to speak a bit closer to it. Yeah, so, I think the opening slide gives you a clue as to what we've just done today. got rid of my last daughter. Right, so I wanted to thank you all for joining us. You know, it's really great to be together. I loved the service this morning, the bits where people joined in. Yeah, I felt we were really all together in what we were doing, so thank you for coming along to participate in the wedding. It's been a lot of fun so far. Yeah, so Dan, we consider an addition to the family. Lizzie and Dan live very close to us, the house they've got, and we get to see a lot of Dan, which is a real treat, and we consider him another son before he got married to Lizzie. So welcome to our family. That's where we started. 1 hour, we couldn't get a lot earlier. That's quite a long time ago, actually. But I don't think I'm allowed to tell you how long ago, because you might beat me up. It's a clue. And not long after that, we had Jonathan, Rachel and Catherine come along and welcome their baby sister. And it's lovely to see them enjoying being a family and how well they have got on together all their lives. It's been a fantastic pleasure to Barbara and myself to see the joy the family have. So Lizzie was very warmly welcomed that day and ever since. There is a theme you may spot when you spotted it with Lizzie. So Timmy is there, being held, and just say he's given by Nan and Grandpa, and Nan would have loved to have been here. She died only, whatever it is, 5-6 weeks ago. I lost track of what it is. But Nan would have loved to have been here, but I feel like she's here in spirit. I looked for her when I walked into a church this morning, and you know, I think Lizzie felt the same way. We'd have loved to have Nan here because of all that she's given to Lizzie. And Robert, Nan and Grandpa, and Timmy was one of the ones that they gave to Lizzie. So, that was spoiled. There's a photo out there, the same photo out there. I was very disappointed to see that one. But Lizzie did fast become an angel. I'm not sure how long it stayed that way. So just a picture of life in our garden. Notably, you'll see Timmy is joining in the shopping there, held by Lizzie. I think that's a very natural photo of Lizzie. It just shows how good she is. I think one of her alternative careers was to be a model, as we shall see later. Right, Chloe Bear, who is still wrapped in the bag, gets the first home. If you look closely on the back of the lady, you probably can't see from here, it says, "This is not a toy." White Rabbit is there, very visible, but if you look carefully underneath, you'll see that Timmy is also there. So Timmy is not being supplanted, he's still holding in there. And we will see the White Rabbit again later. Yes! So I needed models for my photography career, or attempted photography career, and Lisa was one of my riding subjects. So, the White Rabbit is back. And we're skipping on with this here. So what was Lizzie going to do? Having ruled out modelling, she considered psychology and maths. And I found this quite an interesting choice because I was very biased and wanted a maths. But having been a maths teacher and seeing people struggle with maths, I really wanted to make a good decision here. And when she eventually decided she was going to do maths and psychology as a joint degree, I was so pleased that she kept the maths but also kept a good balance. And yeah, So Lizzie got her degree, not her ounce of effort, and I got a chance to go back to my days of maths. So we had fun sessions as father and daughter doing maths revision together. So I was doing the old stuff that I used to know, which I'm not sure it actually applied anymore. She was showing me the new stuff. I hadn't got a clue what she was talking about. But together she got her degree, and we were so proud that she got through and done that. So, summing up, we wanted to make Lizzie feel very valued. So, she was a very loved addition to our family, and she brought us tremendous pleasure and joy throughout her whole life. We value who she is, all she has achieved, her integrity, and how kind and genuine she is. We are so proud of our daughter Lizzie, and so pleased she's found Dan. On a lighter note, I think I have identified her selection process for choosing Dan. So she started, where did she want her husband to come from? Well, the obvious place, she thought, looking at her dad who came from the Midlands, she wanted a husband who came from the Midlands. So that explains her choice of going to Birmingham to get her degree. But she came away from Birmingham without a husband. She got a degree, but no husband. So it needed a change of plan at this point. And she had two choices, either to generalise and allow for a bigger area, or to go for somewhere more specific. And she took the route of going for somewhere more specific. Dad had come from Warsaw, so she needed a husband who came from Warsaw. And then she thought, that's not really as specific as I could be. I could be even more specific if I wanted to. Dad went to Warsaw, Queen Mary's Grammar School. Grandpa went to Queen Mary's Grammar School in Warsaw. Uncle Gareth went to Queen Mary's Grammar School in Warsaw. How about if I need a husband who came from Queen Mary's Grammar School in Warsaw? And it just so happens that Dan satisfies all these criteria. So Dan passed that one. What was the next important one she wanted on her list? Just to be aware of it, and welcome Timmy as a family member. I think you've probably seen enough of the photos, the two bears sitting on private position on the top table to know this was a very serious consideration for Lizzie. Was Dan going to meet the mark? So on the left we have Bongo, a monkey, not a bear, but Dan was actually very into cuddly toys. And you may have noticed on the questionnaire, one of the questions was how many cuddly toys have they got? I'm not going to spoil your fun.
Just bears.
Bears?
Just bears.
Oh, just bears, okay. But I'll give you a clue and say it's in double digits. You can also look at the state of their two toys. Timmy is slightly the worse for wear, possibly because he's better loved, possibly because he's not better loved, depends on your point of view. What else did she need? What qualities was she looking for in her husband? Well, he had to be very brave, and he had to be really persistent when tracking her down. So how did she discover if Dan met these criteria? Well, when he first met the family in the Midlands, there were 22 of us meeting, which he hadn't basically met at all. So she threw him in to meet 22 strange people in one attempt. Then to make it slightly trickier for him, she gave him the address, 242 Henwood Road. Except she thought she'd make it slightly more difficult to make it 243. Which might not sound hard, except if you actually see where they live. In Henwood Road, they live in a service road, and then there's a main road, and then you get to the opposite side of the road where the odd numbers could be expected to run. But actually there aren't many houses there. So Barbara and I wandered down the road to try and find out where Dan was going to end up, and found where 243 should have been, but there was no 243. Which meant Dan was faced with a question, which bit of information was wrong? Was it the house number, the street name, or the town? So I took a photo, just to So you can see 240 on the right, And what would have been 242 on the left, renamed, he had done a clue, because he couldn't make it. And I think the other requirement you need was a husband with good sight, because you can see the exploding view, but from a distance it's not very easy to read that. Anyway, Dan passed the bravery test. He successfully met all these unknown people. He actually found out where Lizzie had got to, so Dan passed that one. Right, must be tolerant of me turning into a wild animal. Well, we all know Lizzie very well, don't we? So why would Lizzie put that one down? So Lizzie has sharp teeth and claws. Is Dan going to be able to cope with that? Any guesses?
Yes.
Dan is a very good match, notably at the same time that Lizzie goes all furry and scary. Now we come to one that anybody who knows Lizzie will know is very, very key. Must be hooked on board games, letting me win often, or prepared for the consequences. Lizzie knows what's coming up, it's this one by heart. I think the whole family knows what's coming here. So we used to play this game called the Really Nasty Horse Racing Game, and it lived up to its name, where being really nasty was very important. Lizzie got to the final straight, and she was unstoppable. She knew she was going to win. She was going to make a fortune, and she was going to win the game. But Catherine then appeared with the only card that could possibly stop her. So Lizzie begged and implored Catherine as her sister, which I found interesting, but she tried to play the sister card to save herself, not to do this dastardly deed. From Lizzie's point of view, it was just unthinkable that anybody would do that to her. She was so close to winning. But Catherine took no notice, egged on by the rest of the family, and removed Lizzie's horse. And Lizzie famously responded, "I will never forget this until the end of time." But 5 years later, Catherine and Lizzie were very good friends again. So my statement to you, Dan, is that Lizzie is quite volatile. just hold in there. Must be really keen to wrap up all presents I give to people, and creative making custom Snoopy cards. I think quite a few who have presents from Lizzie will know what's coming here. So, all presents given by Lizzie have been wrapped by Zoe. Our bridesmaid Zoe, thank you Zoe. But Dan has been trained. Dan is learning how to wrap Lizzie's presents. He's also learning how to do Father's Day cards. So the little yellow bird on the right, for those who don't know, is Woodstock. That little yellow bird is Dan's contribution to my Father's Day card this year. So Dan has passed on the present wrapping and he's passed on the custom Snoopy cards. Dan is doing really well at the moment. Must have a sense of humour and legendary patience, like me, Lizzie. Does Lizzie know what's coming on this one? Lizzie has legendary patience. One April day, when we were in the kitchen, the staff asked her to go to the main house and asked them for a long wait that was needed. Lizzie did as requested and went to the main house, asking them for a long wait. They told her to sit down and then see what they could do for her. Lizzie sat down and nothing happened. And Lizzie sat there and nothing happened. And then Lizzie thought it's April the 1st and went back, thinking that she had been given her long wait. So, as you probably gathered by now, Dan has met all these criteria. He's done really well. And there are other things he meets. So, Dan has passed, he's got all these. So additionally, and most importantly, we would like to add to her list what we know is truly on her heart. What's coming here? Will love me until the end of time. which has its humorous aspects, and actually almost brings tears to my eyes as well, because that is what we really want for her and for Dan, to love each other until the end of time. So that, I think, is what all of us here would want to see happen. So it's been a long wait due to COVID, but it's lovely to have you here, all of you, on this occasion. So I'm going to hand over to Zoe and Gail, who prepared a speech as well. But before I do that, I'd like you to join us all in a toast as we bless Lizzie and Dan. So if you can stand, if you've got room to stand, and join us in the toast. You can shorten it if you want to. I don't know if standing is a good idea, because probably that one to love each other until the end of time. That's what I have to say. Sorry, bridesmaids. So, join me with toast. To Lizzie and Dan, to love each other until the end of time.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. What an honour and privilege it is to see all of you looking very, very beautiful on this wonderful autumn day. Now then, I'm Zoe. And we just initially joked around with Lizzie, begging for a slot at her special day. And we were like, yeah, we want to do a speech, we'll embarrass you. Little did we know that she actually allowed us to do a speech, and so very quickly, in fact, a message going on went, so we have. Anyway, so, hello, I'm Zoe. Now, I first met Lizzie online. I like to think I was her first online relationship. We're doing that. So, I actually met Lizzie through Gail, but before we met in the flesh, we met on a really old school site called Bebo. And Lizzie and I would exchange messages. They're often cut short because you'd have to often go and load the dishwasher. So she quickly became known as my dishwasher friend, who would only talk to me for about 10 minutes, and then she disappeared. But it was later in year 10, when we were at church in our youth group, way back when I formally met my now best friend.
My name is Gail. I met Lizzie when we were 7 years old at the Dawnday School in Year 3 in the Nature at church. We shared a love of playing Tekken Tag Tournament and Mortal Kombat on the PlayStation, neither of which my mum would have let me play, as well as reading books and detective stories especially. Now Lizzie has somewhat always been the woman of mystery in our little trio. It was a real-life detective story to find out who she was dating at the time, what he was like, and an answer to the all-important question, what's his favourite colour? Surprise, surprise, Lizzie would never let us meet her boyfriends. So,
we are well rehearsed, I promise. So we knew Dan must have been special because he was allowed to meet us. And often when Lizzie would go on these dates, I would ask questions like, do you know what his favourite colour is? Do you know what animal he would be? Do you know how he would defend you in a fight? I mean, really, it's a really vital piece of information that you need to know, right? But anyway, so we got an introduction. And Gail and I thought, wow, he's alright. You know, he's the king of camping. Lizzie loves camping. We'll come on to that in a minute. But also, we were quite impressed with dance moves as well. If you haven't seen them, I'm sure they'll come out later. Anyway, so we were really quite relieved actually, because as you see in the pictures, we were quite glad that Lizzie had both settled on a hair colour, as well as the man that she wanted to be with.
From these well-travelled years with our little pickle, as we like to call her, we have some words of advice for Dan, which you probably don't need after surviving and thriving through lockdown together. But even so, we have some very favourite quotes and moments from Lizzie. Lizzie is exceptionally smart, but she may need some helpful reminders of the laws and rules of nature. Number 1, ducks are not actually fish. Number 2, raiders are indeed very real. And 2, cheese on toast is not the same as microwave bread with cheese sprinkled on top, which was her favourite midnight after a night out dinner. We are so proud and delighted to see our best friend marry her best friend, someone who shares her great love of wine, competitive games, and camping in the great British outdoors. Now, we had a favourite memory every summer of going to festivals together and waking Lizzie up at 7 a.m. in the morning and trying to get her out of the sleeping bag. Only brute force really works.
And sometimes the threat of the sleeping bag baptism as well. So Lizzie, you finally met your competitive match, a man who understands you, who loves you, and probably understands the job title that you have, because making dashboards we assume is part of cars, apparently it's not. But someone who's clever, who's kind, he treats you like a queen, he brings you tea in bed, well done, and generally is a really good thing. So our parting wisdom is this: we wish you a life of fun, a life of frolics, and a life where you can collect as many pictures of us and put them up in your house as possible. But Dan, may you continue to grow in your ability to lose graciously to the many games we're sure that you're playing, to helping our one love the joy of camping, I'm sure you know that will, but also to love her and treat her in the way that we are very proud of what you do.
So, on that note, before we hand over to the best man, we want to thank the friends in Dan's life who've helped make him into the very, very decent man that he is. And also, you have the ultra-sexy job of clearing up the tables at the end, so you deserve a special thank you. So on that note, I'd like to make a toast to the groomsmen. If we raise a glass for a toast. Oh, everyone upstanding, please. To the groomsmen. I'm going to hand over to the best man.
It's actually a mini break now to clear up the rubbish, and if you need, go to the toilet. So take a short pause for 5, and then we'll be back. Don't miss it.